In the city of Sestos, perched on the edge of the Hellespont, there lived a young woman named Hero. She was a priestess of Aphrodite, devoted to the goddess of love and beauty, her life dedicated to faith, ritual, and the quiet sanctity of the temple. Hero's beauty was renowned across the land, not just for the graceful symmetry of her features, but for the gentle warmth that radiated from her heart. Yet, beneath her serene exterior, a yearning lived, a longing for a connection that went beyond devotion, beyond duty, into the realm of human companionship and love. Leander, a young man from Abydos, on the opposite shore of the Hellespont, was known for his courage and adventurous spirit. His life was filled with the energy of youth, with tales of heroism and skill in swimming, rowing, and traversing the wide waters that separated him from the shores of Sestos. Yet, despite his daring nature, there was a part of Leander's soul that sought more than adventure. He longed for something deeper, a bond that would challenge him, inspire him, and touch the core of his being. The fateful meeting began on a warm summer evening. Hero, standing at the temple balcony overlooking Hellespont, was performing her ritual, lighting the sacred lamp to honor Aphrodite. The golden flame flickered in the evening breeze, casting a warm glow upon her delicate face. As she worked, her gaze drifted across the dark waters to the opposite shore, where the last rays of the sun reflected in the waves. Leander, drawn by the same quiet curiosity, had wandered along the edge of the sea, the wind tossing his hair as he paused to admire the distant lights of the temple. Something about the glow and the figure it illuminated called to him, a presence both ethereal and familiar, as if destiny itself had placed Hero on the balcony for him to see. Their eyes met across the wide channel, and in that instant, an unspoken recognition passed between them. Neither spoke, yet each felt a spark, a silent acknowledgement that their fates were intertwined. Hero's heart fluttered with excitement and fear. She had been trained to remain apart from the world in her devotion to Aphrodite, yet this stranger stirred in her something that she could not ignore. Leander, too, felt the unusual pull of a connection that transcended the ordinary, a feeling that both thrilled and terrified him. Night after night, their silent gazes became a ritual. Hero would light the lamp, and Leander would appear on the opposite shore, watching in admiration and awe. Words were unnecessary at first, for the language of longing and curiosity was written clearly in their eyes. The sea, vast and tumultuous, separated them physically, yet their hearts drew closer with each passing evening. Eventually, Leander's courage overcame caution. He began to swim across the Hellespont under the cover of darkness, guided by the soft glow of Hero's lamp. The journey was perilous, with strong currents and hidden rocks threatening every stroke, yet the promise of connection drove him onward. Hero, aware of the risks, experienced a mixture of fear and anticipation. Each time Leander approached her side of the water, her heart raced, not just with relief, but with a growing awareness of the depth of her feelings. Their first meeting, after weeks of distant observation, was filled with awe and tentative conversation. They spoke of the Hellespont, of the winds, and of the beauty of the night sky. Yet beneath the surface of their words flowed something deeper, a quiet acknowledgement of the bond forming between them. Hero learned of Leander's bravery and free spirit. Leander discovered Hero's wisdom, her gentleness, and the fiery devotion that had always guided her life. Though the danger of discovery and the restrictions of her role as priestess loomed over Hero, neither could deny the connection blossoming between them. Every secret meeting was a mix of joy, tension, and wonder, a delicate balance between passion and prudence. They spoke in whispers, shared stolen smiles, and navigated the treacherous waters with care and ingenuity, always aware that the tides could change, that the sea itself might conspire against them. Even as their love began to bloom, the shadow of societal expectation loomed. Hero's role as a priestess forbade her from forming attachments, and the people of Sestos would never approve of a bond with a man from across the channel. Leander, too, faced challenges from his own community, who valued honor, reputation, and loyalty above personal desire. Yet these obstacles, rather than weakening their connection, strengthened it. They realized that what they shared was rare and precious, a love born not of convenience, but of destiny. As the moon rose higher over the waters of the Hellespont, Hero and Leander stood together on the shore, feeling the salty breeze against their faces and the thrilling pulse of possibility in their hearts. The first step had been taken. The lamp of Hero's devotion had become a beacon for more than just the goddess. It had become a signal of love, courage, and the beginning of a journey neither would forget. In that quiet night, the two hearts understood a truth both exhilarating and terrifying. The path ahead would be filled with beauty and danger, longing and separation, but they were willing to face every trial for the chance to be together. The story of Hero and Leander had begun, not written on paper or stone, but on the waves of the Hellespont, in the hearts of two souls who dared to love across impossible distance. As summer deepened, the connection between Hero and Leander blossomed into something profound. Each night, under the soft glow of the moon, Leander would brave the treacherous waters of the Hellespont to meet Hero. Their secret encounters became a sanctuary from the rules, duties, and expectations that governed their lives. In the quiet of the shore, they shared stories, laughter, and dreams that could not be spoken aloud in public. Yet the sea, beautiful and mesmerizing, was also a dangerous adversary. Strong currents threatened to sweep Leander away, and on stormy nights, waves rose like dark mountains, turning the Hellespont into a realm of peril. Hero watched from her temple balcony, the lamp flickering in the wind, praying for his safety. Each successful crossing filled their hearts with joy, while each night of absence brought fear and anxiety. Beyond the danger of the water, the weight of societal expectation loomed ever larger. Hero, as a priestess of Aphrodite, was bound to a life of devotion and restraint. Her people revered her for her piety, her wisdom, and her role in maintaining the sacred rites of the temple. A romantic connection with a man from across the channel was considered scandalous, even dangerous. Whispered warnings reached her ears, subtle threats disguised as advice. To protect her reputation and honor, she must distance herself from this young man who defied both geography and propriety. Leander faced similar pressures. His friends and family admired his bravery and skill, yet they also valued caution, reputation, and loyalty to the community above personal desire. Tales of his nightly swims and secret meetings could tarnish his standing, bring scandal, or provoke disapproval. Some even suggested that he should abandon his infatuation, that the love he pursued was reckless and irresponsible. Despite these warnings, their bond only grew stronger. Love, they realized, was not a matter of convenience or safety. It was a force that demanded courage, sacrifice, and faith. They shared their hopes for the future, imagining a life together, beyond the sea, beyond the scrutiny of society, beyond fear itself. Hero dreamed of a world where she could love freely without abandoning her devotion. And Leander imagined a life where courage and affection could coexist with honor. Yet fate, as always, intervened in unexpected ways. One night, a sudden storm swept across the Hellespont. Dark clouds blotted out the moon, and wind tore at the surface of the water. Leander, unaware of the approaching tempest, had already plunged into the waves, guided only by the faint glow of Hero's lamp. The currents were stronger than ever, the waves battering him with relentless force. Hero's prayers and frantic cries echoed across the water, but there was little she could do to calm the furious sea. Hours seemed to stretch into eternity. Leander fought against exhaustion, against the swirling waves, against the cold that gnawed at his limbs. Hero, helpless and desperate, remained by the temple balcony, clinging to hope, imagining every possible tragedy. When he finally reached the shore, dripping, shivering, and gasping for breath, their embrace was long and silent, filled with relief, fear, and the overwhelming intensity of their bond. That night, they understood the magnitude of the risks they had been taking. Love, they realized, could be both exhilarating and terrifying, a source of profound joy and profound danger. Even as the storm passed, whispers of concern and disapproval began to stir among the citizens of Sestos and Abydos. Rumors of the nightly swims and secret meetings and the growing affection spread quietly at first, then more audibly. While some admired the courage and devotion of the young lovers, others questioned the wisdom of defying societal norms and risking lives for love. Hero and Leander were caught between the exhilaration of their connection and the growing tension of public scrutiny. Yet they did not falter. Every challenge, every wave, every whispered caution strengthened their resolve. They began to communicate in new ways: messages in bottles, notes tied to floating leaves, and signals through the flickering lamp. The sea remained their greatest obstacle, but it also became a symbol of the endurance, determination, and resilience of their hearts. Through it all, their love deepened in passion and understanding. Hero's devotion to Aphrodite remained steadfast, yet she discovered that love could coexist with faith, that the heart's desire was not a betrayal of duty, but a complement to it. Leander, too, matured in courage and patience, learning that love required not only daring acts, but also careful consideration, wisdom, and respect for the risks involved. By the end of the summer, Hero and Leander's connection had transformed from a fleeting attraction into a profound partnership, a bond that neither the sea, society, nor circumstance could easily break. They knew that further trials awaited: storms, separation, and the inevitable scrutiny of those who would question their choices. But for the first time, they also felt a quiet certainty that love, when nurtured with courage and patience, could endure even the most relentless challenges. As the moon reflected on the waves of the Hellespont that night, Hero and Leander stood together on the shore, hands entwined, hearts aligned, and eyes full of shared determination. The journey ahead was uncertain, yet they faced it with hope, bravery, and a profound understanding that the love they had discovered was worth every risk, every challenge, every whispered warning. Autumn arrived, and with it a chill in the air that seemed to mirror the growing tension in the lives of Hero and Leander. Their secret meetings, once a source of joy and exhilaration, now carried the weight of risk, rumors, and the relentless force of fate. The Hellespont, beautiful but treacherous, had become both their bridge and their greatest challenge. The whispers of disapproval had grown louder. In Sestos, citizens murmured about the priestess who met secretly with a man across the channel. In Abydos, murmurs about the young man risking life and reputation for love reached the ears of Leander's family and friends. Fear, though unspoken, began to thread its way through the hearts of the lovers. Hero's position as a priestess made her a symbol of virtue, and her devotion to the goddess of love required a life of restraint. Leander's boldness, once admired, was now viewed as reckless. One evening, as Hero lit her lamp atop the temple balcony, a messenger arrived, bearing a warning from the elders of Sestos. The message was clear. Hero must end her nightly meetings with the young man from Abydos or face severe consequences both for her position and for the safety of the temple. Hero's heart sank. She knew that defiance could lead to exile or worse, yet the thought of abandoning Leander was unbearable. Leander, unaware of the edict, prepared for his nightly swim. As he plunged into the dark waters, the first gusts of a sudden autumn storm began to churn the Hellespont. Waves crashed and surged with a violence they had not encountered before. Hero, standing on the balcony, watched in horror as he fought against the tide, her lamp flickering violently in the wind. Hours passed. Each moment stretched endlessly as Hero's fear mounted. She had learned to trust in Leander's skill and courage, but the storm was merciless. By the time he reached her side, exhausted and battered, tears mingled with rain and sweat. Their embrace was filled with relief, but also a quiet acknowledgement of the peril that shadowed every act of love. The following days brought further challenges. Leander's family expressed concern, urging him to consider his reputation and safety. In Sestos, the temple elders intensified their warnings. The lovers were forced into secrecy that was more dangerous than ever. Each meeting required careful timing, messages hidden in inconspicuous places, and signals sent only when the coast was clear. Even the Hellespont itself seemed to conspire against them, with treacherous currents and sudden storms adding to the ever-present danger. Despite the mounting obstacles, their love refused to waver. They adapted, finding new ways to communicate and to meet, though each encounter was tinged with urgency and anxiety. Every touch, every word carried the knowledge that discovery could have devastating consequences. And yet, the intensity of their connection grew. They spoke not just of love, but of hope, dreams, and the world they longed to share beyond the barriers of society, distance, and duty. But fate, relentless and unyielding, soon dealt its cruelest blow. One night, under a sky thick with clouds and wind strong enough to snap branches from trees, Leander attempted to swim across the Hellespont as the lamp flickered in the distance. The storm, fiercer than any before, tossed him violently. Hero's cries echoed across the water, powerless against the tempest. She watched in terror as the waves seemed to claim him, and in that instant, the cruel reality of love's fragility pressed upon her. When dawn broke, the sea had calmed, but the outcome was uncertain. The storm had separated them physically and emotionally. Hero, shaken but resolved, prayed for Leander's safety, vowing to endure whatever consequences might follow. Leander, exhausted and nearly overwhelmed by the currents, had barely managed to reach a small inlet, surviving through sheer determination and love. In the aftermath of the storm, their love was tested as never before. The separation, though temporary, left both hearts raw and vulnerable. Hero understood the precariousness of her position. Leander realized that courage alone could not guarantee safety. They were forced to confront the harsh truth. Love, no matter how passionate or true, existed alongside danger, judgment, and the unpredictable forces of nature. Even amid despair, hope endured. They learned that separation, though painful, could also strengthen resolve. Letters were sent with meticulous care, signals devised to communicate without endangering themselves. Every crossing, every meeting became not just an act of love, but a testament to perseverance, faith, and courage. As autumn deepened into the early whispers of winter, Hero and Leander held on to their connection with renewed determination. They had glimpsed the fragility of life, the threat of discovery, and the relentless power of the sea. But in the face of such trials, they discovered a profound truth. Love, when true and courageous, could endure storms, distance, and the scrutiny of the world. Yet both understood that the greatest trial was still to come. The next encounter across the Hellespont would test not just their bodies, but the very essence of their bond. The story of Hero and Leander had entered a dangerous chapter, one where fate, circumstance, and the relentless sea could decide whether their love would survive or be forever torn apart. Winter's chill swept over Sestos and Abydos, and with it, the Hellespont became a mirror of nature's relentless power, dark, stormy, and unpredictable. Hero and Leander, though still united in spirit, felt the weight of separation pressing ever more heavily upon them. The storms of the sea mirrored the storms in their lives, the scrutiny of society, the warnings of elders, and the precariousness of a love that defied both geography and custom. Despite these challenges, the bond between them had never been stronger. Each note, each signal, each message in a carefully sent bottle carried the urgency of their longing and the promise of hope. Hero continued her rituals as priestess, lighting the lamp each night, not just as a devotion to Aphrodite, but as a beacon of love, a guide for Leander across the treacherous waters. Leander, though fearful of the storms, could not resist the call of that light. It was a symbol of connection, trust, and the future he dreamed of sharing with Hero. One fateful evening, as the wind howled and waves crashed against the cliffs, Leander prepared once more for the crossing. Hero's lamp flickered violently in the storm, a tenuous signal amid the fury of the elements. Each wave seemed larger than life, each current stronger than before. Yet the determination in Leander's heart matched the ferocity of the sea. He swam with every ounce of strength, guided by the light of the lamp, by the memory of Hero's voice, and by the undeniable pull of love that refused to let him turn back. From her balcony, Hero watched, heart pounding, every flicker of the lamp a prayer for his safety. The storm was unforgiving. Waves battered him, pulling him down, testing his courage and endurance. The night was long, and time itself seemed suspended in the tension between hope and fear. Hero called out to him, her voice nearly lost in the roar of wind and water, yet her words carried across the waves a tether of faith and love. Hours stretched into what felt like eternity, and then finally Leander reached the shore, but not without consequence. Exhausted and weakened by the storm, he collapsed onto the sands, gasping for breath. Hero rushed to him, tears streaming down her face, her hands shaking as she helped him rise. In that moment, words were unnecessary. The embrace, the shared relief, and the silent acknowledgement of survival spoke volumes. They had survived another trial, yet they knew the dangers were far from over. In the days that followed, their love continued to face challenges, but the storm had changed something fundamental. They realized that passion and courage alone could not overcome every obstacle. The elders' warnings, the perilous nature of the Hellespont, and the scrutiny of their communities forced them to confront the reality of their situation. Hero and Leander were faced with a choice: continue risking everything for nightly meetings and face potential tragedy, or find a way to honor their love within the boundaries of safety and respect. They chose love, but with wisdom and foresight. Instead of nightly swims during dangerous storms, they devised new ways to connect, to communicate, and to nurture their bond. Hero's lamp remained a symbol, not just of guidance across the waters, but of enduring devotion. Leander would visit when conditions were safe, and messages were exchanged with care, patience, and thoughtfulness. Their love matured, becoming less impulsive and more enduring, tempered by the lessons of storms and separation. Yet, the drama of fate was not fully spent. One particularly violent winter night, a storm unlike any before swept across the Hellespont. Hero, unable to ignore the call of her heart, lit the lamp as usual, its glow flickering in defiance of the wind and rain. Leander, misjudging the storm's strength, entered the water. The waves rose with terrifying force, tossing him relentlessly. Hero's cries reached him in the darkness, but the sea was merciless. The tragedy that followed was swift and irrevocable. Leander, despite his strength and determination, was overcome by the storm. Hero watched in horror as the water claimed him, powerless to intervene. His last thoughts, carried on the waves, were of Hero, the beacon of love that had guided him across the Hellespont. Hero, broken by grief, clutched the lamp, her devotion unbroken even as the storm carried her beloved away. In the days that followed, Hero mourned. The people of Sestos, aware of her loss, honored both the priestess and the bravery of Leander. The story of their love spread across the lands, a tale of courage, passion, and the ultimate sacrifice. Hero's devotion remained steadfast. She continued her rituals, lighting the lamp nightly, not merely for the goddess, but as a memorial to the young man whose love had defined her heart and whose courage had crossed the impossible distance of the sea. The story of Hero and Leander became a legend, not just for the romance, but for the bravery, the resilience, and the enduring devotion that defined it. Their love, though tragically cut short, became eternal, immortalized in the memory of those who witnessed the power of a bond that dared to defy distance, danger, and societal expectation. In the quiet nights, as the waves of the Hellespont lapped against the shore, it was said that the lamp's glow could still be seen, a symbol of hope, love, and the enduring courage of hearts that dare to love beyond all boundaries.